Itachi lets out a sigh. He's done a good enough job of dodging and avoiding Madara's attack so far, but there's not much else he can do. Kakashi has told Itachi everything he knows about Madara's abilities back at Mount Miyaboku, so the Uchiha has enough info to know that trying any sort of offensive against the masked man would be pointless. If anything, by trying to attack, Itachi might just leave himself open for a counter. Madara is stronger, faster, and his fire style is a lot more powerful. All Itachi can do is stall until Guy and Kakashi arrive. At that point, as a group, the Konoha ninja might be able to mount an offensive, as they'd be able to cover each other's backs. But until then, all Itachi has to help him is an exhausted Sasuke and Yamato who's not nearly fast enough to keep up. Interrupting Itachi's thought process, Madara lunges at the Uchiha and takes a swipe at him. Itachi is just barely fast enough to dodge. However, he's not ready for the sudden burst of speed and ends up losing his balance while attempting to avoid the swipe. He begins falling backwards. Madara takes advantage of this and extends a hand at Itachi's leg, aiming to pull his soul out with the human path of the Rinnegan. Sasuke, who's been observing the battle from afar, realizes what's about to happen and pours a good amount of chakra into his eye, shooting out an Amaterasu at the masked man. Madara notices the chakra being built up and leans back, dodging the black flames. This gives Itachi a chance to quickly get up and put some distance between himself and Madara. Yamato, who's been standing next to Sasuke, claps his hands together and wooden pillars emerge from the ground around the masked man, ready to attack. Itachi takes the opportunity to regroup with his brother in the Leaf Jonin. What now? You can't hold him off for long on your own. I'm low on chakra and a mere Jonin won't be of much help. We must hold out until Kakashi and Guy get here. With all 5 of us working together, we'd have a shot at beating Madara, or at least making him retreat. How long do we have until they get here? Wouldn't it be better to retreat for now? A retreat is impossible. Sasuke is in too rough of a shape. Besides, none of us could hope to outrun Madara. And that's not even talking about his teleportation jutsu. It's been several minutes already. They should be here at any moment. We just have to stall. At that moment, Madara grips his Uchiha Gunbai and sprints at the group. Just as soon as he starts running, the sound of chirping birds can be heard and Kakashi rockets into the field with a Raikiri in his hand. Madara notices his approach and, becoming intangible, phases through the attack. He prepares to lay a hand on Kakashi. Itachi tries to stop it, but realizes he won't be able to do anything in time as the man's hand is already mere centimeters away from the Jonin's back. Obito materializes himself right before the moment his glove would make contact with Kakashi's vest. However, just as he does, a huge force crashes into his mask and blows him back. Guy has arrived at the scene and using the 6th gate, punched the air hard enough to create a shockwave to blast Madara back. The man in the mask slides back a few meters, disorientated and confused. He opens his eyes just in time to see a leg rocketing toward his face and turn intangible, allowing the appendage to slip right through his body. Thinking fast, Madara takes the gunbai off of his back and swings it at the Jonin's head at full force. Guy raises a hand to block the attack, but the masked man suddenly turns his wrist and aims the gunbai down at Guy's waist. The green beast isn't fast enough to react and the fan smashes into his side, making him gasp in pain. Using this moment, Madara extends an arm at the Jonin, ready to kill him. Thankfully, Kakashi and Itachi take action and rush him from both sides. Obito realizes that he will not have enough time to pull out Guy's soul before the duo can get to him, and instead chooses to simply land a clean punch on the Jonin's stomach, before jumping back to avoid the 2 Sharingan users. Guy winces a little. Madara's physical strength is immense, but it doesn't even come close to bringing the green beast down in a single hit. Not in the 6th gate at least. Madara jumps back to gain a bit of distance. Meanwhile, Kakashi, Itachi, and Guy retreat to Sasuke and Yamato. Kakashi. And you. Sasuke looks at Guy with a slight distaste, remembering their last encounter all too well. I'm glad to see you here, Kakashi, but why did you charge in so recklessly? If it wasn't for Guy, you would have been done for. If it wasn't for Guy, I wouldn't have used myself as bait in order to give him the chance to land a hit on Madara. Itachi explains before turning to Itachi. What's the situation? The Uchiha gives the Jonin a quick rundown of what happened and the group prepares for battle once more, this time holding the advantage and prepared to go on the offensive. Madara lets out a small grunt before taking a fighting stance. Meanwhile, in the Hidden Mist village, Chojuro, C, Darui, and Mifune, along with the help of several large snake summons, round up the villagers with great efficiency and speed. They're just over halfway done with the evacuation, but Kisame is making his way towards them pretty quickly. In the Hidden Sand village, Gaara, Temari, Kankuro, and Lee, with the help from the monkeys, have evacuated nearly 60% of the population, with Kabuto on his way to their location. The Stone village is around 40% of the way evacuated, with nothing approaching it yet. The most dire situation is in the Cloud village. When A, B, and the several hawk summons they brought along with them arrive to the village, they find not a prospering utopia that it once was, but a shattered, burning ruin. They desperately search for survivors, and while they do find a few dozen, most of the villagers have perished in the wake of Madara's attack. The most intriguing find are the bodies of two Konoha Jonin, the Shinobi Alliance strategist Shukaku and the head of communications Inoichi. Upon further inspection, A finds out that they're just barely alive, but in desperate need of medical attention. He immediately sends the two of them back to Mount Miyaboku for the medics to heal. The Raikage worries about the state of the other villages. After thoroughly searching through his own destroyed land and making sure that they get every single villager left, A and B decide to go back to Mount Miyaboku and from there, reverse summon themselves to the other villages to see if they're doing alright and, if they are, warn them about the possible incoming attack. Back in the Leaf Village, Itachi, Kakashi, and Guy, with some support from Sasuke and Yamato, continue their battle against the Masked Man. Both sides are playing a game of chess. They take careful pot shots at each other and do their best to avoid making any mistakes. Madara is very fast and can become intangible, but he can't use Kamui to suck people into his dimension, as they would be able to attack him from there. And the human path soul absorption takes a little bit of time to kill a person. Time that the Konoha team can capitalize on. So the only real option left for the man in the mask are physical blows, and while he does have a ton of strength, it's not enough to put down any of his foes for good with only a couple swings. The team, on the other hand, has to deal with Madara's intangibility and can't let their guard down for a second. If they slip up even once, one of them can die very quickly. And the loss of even one of them would mean a much easier time for Madara in this battle. On top of all that, Sasuke and Yamato aren't mobile enough to dodge attacks from the Masked Man, meaning they have to be constantly protected by the other three members of the group. Madara exploits this to get some easy hits on the truly threatening opponents, Kakashi, Guy, and Itachi. And while Itachi can simply shrug the hits off due to being an Edo Tensei, Guy and Kakashi are slowly but surely being worn down. Things turn especially dire for the group when Guy can't maintain the 6th gate anymore and is forced to go down to the 5th. Thankfully, the extended battle gives the ninja hounds plenty of time to evacuate most of the Leaf villagers. Pakun in particular goes to check out the battle and sees that Kakashi and his team are on their last legs against a difficult opponent. He decides that he needs to take action and desummons himself, going back to Mount Miyaboku to request for backup. Just as he does, the Raikage and B return from the Cloud Village with their warning. In Konoha, Madara lands a devastating kick on Guy's arm, nearly cracking a bone. Before he can push the Jonin any further, Itachi activates his Susanoo and grabs Guy, shielding his body with the Avatar's fingers as Kakashi launches a powerful water jutsu at the Masked Man, forcing him to phase through it. The copy ninja collapses onto one knee. His Mangekyo Sharingan fades into a regular Sharingan. He can't keep going for much longer. Obito lets out a slight sigh under his mask. The battle's been a lot harder than expected, but it's clear that as long as he keeps putting pressure on his opponents, he will win. Just then, a cloud of smoke erupts from one of the rooftops. Immediately, a familiar chirping sound can be heard. The sound of A's lightning armor. Madara frowns as 10 figures emerge from the smoke. A, B, Pakun, Sakura, Tsunade, and 5 other shinobi, presumably some of the best the Alliance has to offer. Sakura and Tsunade immediately run over to Kakashi and Guy to heal them while the others line up before the masked man, ready to attack or defend, depending on what their opponent does. Itachi joins them as well. It is at this point that Obito decides that this battle isn't worth fighting. A, B, and Itachi are all formidable combatants. Kakashi and Guy will soon be ready to fight once again, and after they're healed, Tsunade and Sakura could also join the battle. They might even heal Sasuke as well. And that's not to mention the other ninja they have as backup. Using the Bijou here isn't an option thanks to Itachi's Amaterasu and Totsuka blade, as well as Kakashi's Kamui. Obito himself doesn't have a win condition anymore, as wearing out this many people while there are 2 top-tier medics on the battlefield is simply not feasible, and the problems with Kamui and the human path become even harder to overcome when facing this many foes. He could try using Genjutsu to make someone turn on the team, but they'd instantly be snapped out of it by the others. Having 3 Sharingan users on the enemy team that can detect a Genjutsu as soon as it lands on any of their teammates would be too much to overcome. However, there's one more thing that Obito could try before he leaves. Something that he's hesitant to do due to the immense chakra cost of the jutsu. But since he'll be wrapping things up here soon, stamina doesn't matter too much. He's also never used this ability before, so it might catch his opponents off guard. So he can afford to take this gamble.
You're a persistent bunch, aren't you?
Madara asks before raising one of his hands and using a Bancho Tenin to pull B away from the group and toward himself. Itachi, A, and several other shinobi rush after the Jinchuriki, but at the same time, Madara starts running at him as well. He gets to B first and grabs his neck before sucking him into the Kamui dimension. A lets out a horrified scream as he attempts to chop Madara's head off. But before he can, the masked man jumps back and starts sucking himself up into the Kamui dimension. Before he leaves, the man in the mask shouts a few words.
You have my gratitude for delivering the 8 Tails to me, right, Kage?
However, Obito's triumphant sentence is cut off as Itachi activates the Amaterasu while he's in the middle of teleporting. Madara's mask catches on fire, and, a moment later, he vanishes. A collapses to his knees and lets out a scream full of anger and despair. First his village, and now his brother. The Raikage is lost far too much today. The entire group looks on in stunned silence. Meanwhile, Madara appears in his dimension and instantly rips off his mask to prevent the black flames from spreading.
Itachi, you couldn't even let me leave without causing inconveniences. I'll have to get a new mask made. I suppose the cost pales in comparison to my prize.
Obito utters as B stands up in front of him and looks around bewildered.
What is this place? It makes my heart race.
B, this is seriously bad. We've been separated from the group. Focus on Madara.
Madara?
B asks before noticing Obito.
Wait, this is what you look like without a mask? In beauty you sorely lack. No wonder you hide your face, you look like a disgrace.
Obito sighs.
I am in no mood to listen to your absurd rhymes. 8 Tails, you are mine.
Obito lunges at B, who goes into his version 2 state and instantly charges up a Bijou bomb. Obito uses the fan to block the orb of condensed chakra. B smiles, expecting a big explosion to occur, but instead, the orb gets absorbed into the giant fan, which begins to glow.
Uchiha Reflection.
Suddenly, the force of the Bijou bomb gets blown back at B at point-blank range, injuring the Jinchuriki and sending him flying. Obito runs after his target and, before the Cloud Ninja can recover, jumps up and above B before launching a few Rinnegan rods at him, pinning all of his tails. Chakra chains emerge from the rods, immobilizing the beast. Finally, the Uchiha weaves a couple hand signs and shoots out a massive fire-style jutsu, burning B alive. However, in a desperate final attempt to survive, B's body grows as he transforms into the full 8 Tails and swipes his massive hand at the enemy in an attempt to catch and squeeze the life out of him. Obito, unable to use Kamui here, shoots out a couple Rinnegan rods out of his palm and into Gyuki's incoming palm. The Uchiha then grabs onto one of the rods, plants his feet on it and, using the rod as leverage, jumps away from the beast before he can close his fingers on his body, escaping his grasp. Knowing that the Gunbai couldn't possibly reflect an attack as large as a full-sized Bijou Bomb, B opens his mouth and begins charging up another tailed beast bomb, this one being many times larger than the last. Obito, realizing that this could be fatal to him since he can't just phase through the attack, needs to come up with another strategy. In mere moments, B launches a massive ball of chakra straight at Obito. The bomb is too large to simply be absorbed by the Preta path or dodged via running to the side. So instead, Obito does something unprecedented. He jumps into the air and launches a Shinra Tensei at the floor of his dimension. With no ground to stand on, Obito is pushed upwards by the concussive force of the jutsu and catapulted above the bomb to the other shock of Gyuki and B. However, the two of them soon realize that Madara is in a vulnerable position in midair and launch several tentacles at him, while also opening his mouth to manifest another Bijou Bomb. Obito, realizing that the Gunbai is only weighing him down now, disconnects the chain connecting it to his clothing and moments before Gyuki's tail smashes into his body, kicks off of the fan, avoiding the hit and landing on the tentacle. The Uchiha then proceeds to run on the appendage towards B's face, dodging the other tentacles along the way. Obito weaves a few hand signs and, when he gets close to Gyuki's mouth, jumps up into the air before firing the biggest fire-style jutsu he can muster at the beast's mouth, aiming straight at the still charging Bijou Bomb. The flames make contact with a massive ball of chakra, forcing it to detonate right in front of B's face. At the last moment before the explosion reaches Obito, the Uchiha teleports out of his dimension. He appears in one of the Akatsuki's old hideouts and catches his breath. He waits for about half a minute before returning to his domain. Once there, he sees Gyuki injured and down on the ground, but not out yet. The Uchiha doesn't have that much chakra left. He needs to finish this fast. Obito forms another hand sign and tree branches begin emerging all around the downed A-tails. They wrap around and trap Gyuki's tails, arms, and neck, immobilizing him and beginning to suppress his chakra. Obito pours all of his remaining strength into the bindings and soon subdues his enemy completely. Once all is said and done, Obito lands next to an unconscious B. A sorrow expression crosses his face as he looks off into the distance.
The Eight-Tails is finally in my possession. Only one more left to go.